Imagine for a second that you are trekking through the deepest, darkest corners of the Amazon rainforest, or perhaps navigating the misty, uncharted waters of a remote lake in Central Africa. The air is thick with humidity. Suddenly, the leaves rustle with a weight that shouldn't belong to any known animal. A long, serpentine neck emerges from the canopy, or a bipedal silhouette vanishes into the shadows, leaving behind footprints that look exactly like those of a creature that supposedly vanished 65 million years ago. We are taught in every history book and science class that the age of the dinosaurs ended with a massive celestial impact, leaving only fossils and dust behind. But what if the textbooks are wrong? What if some of these prehistoric giants found a way to bridge the gap of time in the most isolated pockets of our planet? Today, we are diving deep into some of the most bone-chilling and mysterious dinosaur sightings ever caught on camera. From grainy dashcam footage in the American Southwest to strange expeditions in the Congo, we are going to analyze these clips to decide once and for all, are these living relics of a lost world, or are they just very clever hoaxes? Stick around until the very end, because the last video we have is from a drone over a forbidden zone in Russia, and the way this creature moves defies everything we know about modern biology. Let's get right into it. The first piece of evidence takes us to the vast, open plains of the American West. Now, usually when people think of dinosaurs, they think of tropical jungles. However, paleontologists know that many species thrived in high desert environments. A few years ago, a piece of footage surfaced from a traveler driving through a remote part of Utah at dusk. This is an area known for its massive rock formations and deep canyons, many of which remain relatively unexplored by foot. In the video, as the sun is dipping below the horizon, casting long, eerie shadows across the red rocks, something massive crosses the road several hundred yards ahead of the car. At first glance, you might think it is a large moose or perhaps a stray cow. But as the driver slows down and the camera zooms in, the proportions are all wrong for a mammal. The creature has a heavy, counterbalancing tail that stays rigid as it moves, a hallmark of theropod dinosaurs like the Carnotaurus or the Allosaurus. It moves with a bird-like grace, taking long, powerful strides on two legs. Critics say it could be a person in a high-end animatronic suit, but the sheer scale of the animal compared to the surrounding sagebrush suggests something much larger. Could a small population of desert-dwelling dinosaurs have survived in these deep canyons, away from human interference? The Great Basin and the surrounding deserts are vast enough to hide almost anything if it doesn't want to be found. Moving away from the desert, we have to talk about the most famous living dinosaur legend of them all, Mokalumbembe. For over a century, rumors have trickled out of the Likawala swamp region in the Republic of the Congo about a creature known as the one who stops the flow of rivers. Local tribes describe it as having a body like an elephant, but with a long, flexible neck and a tail like a giant lizard. In the early 90s, an expedition managed to capture a few seconds of video of something moving through the murky water of a remote lake. When you look at the footage, you see a dark, rounded shape surfacing. It isn't a hippo, as hippos are very territorial and noisy, and this creature moves silently. A long, slender neck rises out of the water, looking almost identical to the silhouette of a diplodocus or an apatosaurus. Is it possible that the deep swamps of Africa, which have remained virtually unchanged since the Cretaceous period, have acted as a biological time capsule? Scientists argue that the environment is too different today, but the sheer number of consistent eyewitness accounts from people who have never seen a dinosaur book in their lives makes you wonder. The video is blurry, as most of these sightings are, but the way the neck undulates as it dives back under the surface is something no known animal in Africa can replicate. Now let's head to the snowy expanses of Siberia. This is an area so vast and so cold that we are still finding perfectly preserved mammoths in the melting permafrost. But a few years ago, a bridge engineer filming a drone survey of a new construction site caught something truly bizarre on his high-definition camera. In the middle of a wide, icy river, a creature is seen swimming against the powerful current. At first, it looks like a bear with a fish in its mouth, but as the drone descends, you can clearly see a long neck and 4 large flippers moving in a rhythmic, paddling motion. It looks exactly like a plesiosaur, a marine reptile that shared the world with the dinosaurs. What makes this video so compelling is the clarity. You can see the wake created by the body and the way the water breaks over its back. Some skeptics claim it is a giant sturgeon, or a sturgeon carrying a piece of wood. But a sturgeon doesn't have a neck that can rise 3 feet above the waterline. If these creatures survived the great extinction in the deep oceans, it isn't a stretch to think they might travel up inland rivers to feed or spawn, much like salmon or bull sharks do today. The vastness of the Siberian wilderness means that a creature like this could live its entire life without ever being seen by a human eye. Australia. This region is already home to the cassowary, a bird that looks so much like a dinosaur it's practically cheating. But the footage in question, captured by a group of campers on a night vision trail cam, shows something much more terrifying. It shows a creature about 7 feet tall, covered in dark, feathery proto-fuzz, lurking near their campsite. It has 3-toed feet and a snout filled with needle-sharp teeth. The way it tilts its head and observes the tent is hauntingly intelligent. Australia has a history of isolated evolution, which is why we have marsupials there that don't exist anywhere else. Is it possible that a lineage of small, raptor-like dinosaurs survived in the thick scrub? The movement in the video is what sells it. It doesn't move like a lizard, which is cold-blooded and sluggish. It moves with the high-energy, twitchy grace of a warm-blooded predator. When it suddenly lunges at a localized movement off-camera, the speed is blinding. If this is a fake, it is one of the most sophisticated puppets ever created, but the way the muscles ripple under the skin suggests a living, breathing organism. Wait until you see this next one. This clip comes from a security camera at a remote research station in the Antarctic. Now, I know what you're thinking. Nothing can survive in the interior of Antarctica. But near the volcanic vents of certain coastal regions, there are pockets of warmth where life finds a way. The footage shows a large, bipedal shadow moving through a blizzard. The scale is immense. It towers over the shipping containers stored outside the base. What's fascinating is that we have found fossils of dinosaurs in Antarctica that prove they once thrived there during a warmer era. Could a few species have adapted to the cooling climate by living near geothermal hotspots? The video is obscured by blowing snow, which makes it easy to dismiss as a trick of the light. But the heavy thudding sound picked up by the microphone, which vibrates the camera housing, indicates a massive physical presence. It's a rhythmic, heavy gait that suggests a weight of several tons. Let's talk about the sky. The legend of the thunderbird is common across North American indigenous cultures, often described as a bird so large it could carry off a whale or a buffalo. In the late 90s, a video surfaced from a mountain climber in the Sierra Nevada mountains. He was filming the vista when a giant shape soared past his position. It wasn't a condor or an eagle. The wingspan was easily 30 feet across, and the wings weren't made of feathers but a leathery membrane. It looked like a pteranodon. The most striking detail in this video is the head crest, which is clearly visible against the bright blue sky. It flies with a slow, majestic flap, utilizing the thermal updrafts of the mountains. Skeptics suggest it's a remote-controlled glider, but the way the wingtips flex and react to the wind turbulence is a hallmark of biological flight, something very difficult to replicate with rigid materials. If these giant reptiles of the sky didn't go extinct, the high, inaccessible peaks of the world's mountain ranges would be the perfect place for them to nest, far above the reach of humans and modern technology. But what about the deep sea? We have only explored about 5% of our oceans. A Japanese fishing vessel once hauled up a carcass that looked strikingly like a plesiosaur, though scientists later claimed it was a basking shark. However, a recent video from a deep-sea submersible off the coast of New Zealand shows a creature that challenges the shark theory. At a depth of over 2,000 feet, a light from the sub illuminates a creature with a massive, barrel-shaped body and a long, tapering neck. It has 4 distinct diamond-shaped flippers. As the sub approaches, the creature turns its head, revealing large, intelligent eyes adapted for the dark. The skin is a mottled gray, merely curious, before it vanishes into the abyss with a single powerful thrust of its tail. This isn't just a sea monster story. This is high-quality underwater footage that shows a body plan that has been absent from the fossil record for millions of years. Or has it just been hiding in the one place we can't easily go? The next clip takes us back to South America, specifically the Pantanal wetlands. A group of birdwatchers were filming a rare parrot when they noticed something strange in the background. Emerging from the tall grass was a group of small, chicken-sized dinosaurs. They looked exactly like Compsognathus. They were hopping around, catching insects in a highly coordinated pack-like fashion. What makes this video so interesting is the social behavior. They seem to communicate with chirps and tail flicks. If this is CGI, it's incredibly detailed, down to the way the grass bends under their weight and the dust kicks up from their tiny feet. But if it's real, it suggests that dinosaurs didn't just survive as giants, but as small, adaptable generalists that have managed to stay under the radar by mimicking the behavior of birds or large lizards. We also have to consider the living legacy theory. We know that birds are technically the descendants of theropod dinosaurs, but some sightings suggest that the transition wasn't as clean-cut as we think. In the deep jungles of Papua New Guinea, people report a creature called the ropen. It is described as a glowing nocturnal flyer with a long tail and a beak full of teeth. A video captured by a missionary shows a bioluminescent streak moving across the night sky. While the light itself is hard to identify, the silhouette revealed by a brief flash of lightning shows a classic rhamphorhynchus shape. Bioluminescence is a common trait in modern deep-sea fish and some insects, so why wouldn't a surviving prehistoric reptile develop it to hunt in the pitch-black jungle? Now, let's look at a video that comes from a very unlikely place, a suburban backyard in Florida. A woman's security camera caught a small, bipedal creature sprinting across her lawn at 3 in the morning. It is too fast for an iguana, and too strangely proportioned for a mangy fox or a dog. It looks like a juvenile gallimimus. Florida is known for being a dumping ground for exotic pets, but there is no animal in the pet trade that looks like this. The way its toes splay out as it hits the pavement and the liquid smooth motion of its hips is something that paleontologists have only recently understood through computer modeling. How could a dinosaur end up in a Florida suburb? Perhaps as we encroach more on the wild swamps of the Everglades, these hidden residents are forced into human territory. One of the most controversial videos ever released comes from a hidden camera trap in the Gobi Desert. This is the land where Roy Chapman Andrews found the first dinosaur eggs. The footage shows a pair of large, feathered predators that look like Deinonychus. They are seen picking apart a carcass. The detail is incredible. You can see the large, sickle-shaped claw on their second toe. They use these claws to pin down the prey while they eat. The presence of feathers in the video aligns perfectly with the most recent scientific discoveries, which weren't widely known to the public when the video was allegedly filmed. This suggests that whoever made the video, if it is a fake, was a top-tier expert in paleontology. But if no such expert has come forward to claim credit, we have to ask, could a small population of these intelligent hunters still be roaming the desolate dunes of Mongolia? The Gobi is a place of extremes, and a feathered dinosaur would be perfectly insulated against both the heat and the cold. We have to address the skepticism, of course. We live in an age of incredible digital effects. A teenager with a powerful laptop can create a very convincing T-Rex in their bedroom. But there's a difference between a movie monster and a biological animal. In many of these clips, we see what we call unnecessary biological detail. This includes things like nictitating membranes or inner eyelids flickering over the eye, the subtle twitching of skin to ward off flies, and the uneven, non-synchronized movement of limbs that suggests a complex nervous system. These are things that many CGI artists overlook, but are present in these mysterious videos. Think about the coelacanth. This was a fish thought to have gone extinct 66 million years ago, until one was found alive and well in a fishing net in 1938. It was a living fossil that shocked the world. If a 5-foot-long fish could hide in the ocean for millions of years, why couldn't a dinosaur hide in a vast jungle or a deep canyon? The Earth is much bigger than we give it credit for. Satellite imagery can see a lot, but it can't see through a triple canopy rainforest or into the depths of a subterranean cave system. One of the most chilling videos is from a group of hikers in the Pyrenees. They were resting on a cliffside when they heard a sound like a low-frequency trumpet. They looked down into the valley and saw a herd of large, quadrupedal animals with horned heads. They looked like triceratops. The animals were moving slowly, grazing on the alpine vegetation. The hikers were paralyzed with fear and only managed to capture 30 seconds of footage. The creatures had a thick, leathery hide and moved with a heavy, rhinoceros-like gait. When one of them spotted the hikers, it let out a bellow that shook the audio on the camera. The sheer power in that sound is hard to fake. It wasn't a digital sound effect. You could see the displacement of air and the reaction of the birds in the nearby trees as they all took flight at once. Then there are the relics in our own backyards. Have you ever heard of the river dino? A fisherman in the Mississippi Delta caught something on his GoPro that he still can't explain. He was moving through a narrow, swampy channel when his boat was bumped by something massive. He threw his camera into the water on a tether, and when he reviewed the footage, he saw a creature that looked like a Spinosaurus swimming through the murky depths. It had a massive sail on its back and a snout like a crocodile. The Spinosaurus was the largest carnivorous dinosaur to ever live, and it was semi-aquatic. If a descendant of that lineage survived, the American South's extensive river and swamp systems would provide an endless supply of fish and the perfect camouflage. As we look at these videos, we have to weigh the possibilities. Is it more likely that hundreds of people around the world are all participating in a giant, coordinated hoax? Or is it possible that our understanding of extinction is incomplete? Extinction isn't always a light switch that gets flipped. Sometimes it's a slow fade, and sometimes a lucky few manage to hang on in the margins. The real or fake debate will continue as long as the footage is grainy and the sightings are fleeting. But as camera technology improves, the evidence is becoming harder to dismiss. Think about the 2012 footage from a helicopter over the Amazon. It shows a massive bipedal creature with a long tail running through a clearing. The speed was clocked at 40 miles per hour. There is no known animal in the Amazon that can run that fast on two legs. The researchers who analyzed the video said the biomechanics were flawless. If it's a fake, it's a masterpiece. If it's real, it's the discovery of the millennium. The mystery of the dinosaurs caught on camera is more than just a search for monsters. It's a search for the truth about our planet's history. It's a reminder that we don't know everything, and that the world is still a place of wonder and terror. Whether these creatures are ghosts of the past or living residents of the present, they capture our imagination like nothing else. Every time someone clicks record in a remote corner of the world, we might be seconds away from a video that finally changes the world forever. So next time you are out in nature, far from the city lights and the paved roads, keep your eyes open. Listen for the sound of a branch breaking that sounds a little too heavy. Watch the water for a ripple that doesn't belong to a boat. The past might not be as far away as we think. In fact, it might be looking right back at us from the shadows. The age of the dinosaurs might have ended for most, but for those few survivors in the hidden places, the hunt never stopped. As we analyze these mysterious videos, we also have to look at the cultural impact. There are stories of dragons or giant lizards. These legends didn't come from nowhere. They are the oral history of people who encountered something they couldn't explain. Could these videos be the modern equivalent of those ancient cave paintings? A way for us to document the impossible. We see a lot of raptor sightings in the American Midwest, often referred to as paleo beasts. One video from a farmer in Nebraska shows something moving through his cornfield at night. The camera is fixed on a fence line. Suddenly, a head with a large, intelligent eye pops up above the corn, stares directly at the lens, and then vanishes. The movement is so fluid, so animalistic, that it's almost impossible to replicate with a suit. The eyes reflect the infrared light from the camera in a way that suggests a tapetum lucidum, a layer of tissue in the eye that many nocturnal predators have. There is also the phenomenon of the mini-rex. Sightings in the Pine Barrens and the rural parts of Texas describe a creature that looks like a Tyrannosaurus, but is only about 5 feet tall. A video from a dashcam shows one of these creatures darting across a country road. It has the iconic massive head and tiny arms. If nature can produce a miniature version of a poodle, why couldn't evolution produce a smaller, more efficient version of a forest-dwelling T-Rex? We have to consider that our search for these animals is hampered by our own expectations. We look for monsters that look exactly like the ones in the movies, but evolution doesn't stop. A surviving dinosaur would look different today than it did 60 million years ago. It would have adapted. It might have different colors, different feathers, or different behaviors. This makes identifying them in grainy videos even harder, but the core body plans, those unmistakable shapes, remain. The most compelling videos are always the ones where the person filming is genuinely terrified. There is a clip from a group of friends four-wheeling in the Appalachian Mountains. They stumble upon a clearing where a large, plated creature is standing. It looks like a stegosaurus. The people in the video aren't excited. They are screaming in pure, unadulterated panic. They turn their vehicle around and flee as fast as they can. The camera shakes, but you can see the creature swinging its spiked tail in a defensive gesture. That kind of reaction is hard to script. What if the government knows? There are always rumors about Area 51 inches for dinosaurs, places like isolated islands or deep underground bunkers where these creatures are studied. Many of the fake videos are dismissed so quickly by official sources that it almost feels like a cover-up. Why would they want to hide the existence of a living dinosaur? Perhaps because it would change everything about how we manage our natural resources and our land. A living dinosaur would be the most protected species on Earth, and its habitat would be strictly off-limits to everyone. Regardless of where you stand on the real or fake spectrum, you have to admit that these videos touch something deep within us. They represent the ultimate mystery. The idea that the most powerful creatures to ever walk the earth could still be out there, watching us from the fringe of our civilized world, is both humbling and exhilarating. We are part of a very long history of life on this planet, and the dinosaurs are a huge part of that. The search continues. Every year, thousands of new trail cameras are set up in the woods. Millions of people are walking around with high-definition cameras in their pockets. It is only a matter of time before the perfect video surfaces. Until then, we analyze the clips we have, we debate the pixels, and we keep looking into the dark. Because the truth isn't just in the fossils underground. It might be right there on the screen, if we only know how to look for it. The world is still a very mysterious place. Don't let anyone tell you otherwise. The age of discovery isn't over, it's just getting started. And as we peel back the layers of our planet's hidden places, we might find that we aren't as alone as we thought. The dinosaurs might still be the kings of the wild, and we are just the temporary tenants. When we look at the footage of the Loch Ness Monster, often thought to be a plesiosaur, we see how a single video can spark a global obsession. Even if that specific video was later debunked, it didn't stop the sightings. Why? Because people keep seeing something. The videos are just our attempt to capture a fleeting moment of an impossible reality. Whether they are real animals or just our minds playing tricks, they keep the spirit of exploration alive. So, stay curious. Keep questioning what you see. The next video you see might be the one that forces the world to admit that the Jurassic didn't end, it just went into hiding. And when that day comes, we will all have to rethink our place in the natural world. Until then, the mystery remains caught on camera, waiting for someone to prove it once and for all. The dinosaurs are out there, somewhere. Maybe they are waiting for us to finally find them. Or maybe they are happy just staying in the shadows, watching the sunset over a world that forgot they existed. Keep exploring, keep filming, and keep your eyes on the horizon. The next great discovery could be just a click away. The bridge between the past and the present is narrower than we think, and sometimes, the ancient world reaches out to remind us that it's still here. And that, more than anything, is why we keep watching. The mystery is too big to ignore, and the evidence is too intriguing to put down. Real or fake? That's for you to decide. But the wonder, that's real for everyone.